Uh, all right. So we want to start, and I want to start by welcoming everyone that has taken out time to join us in this webinar so that we can discuss on some ways that we can empower women against gender-based violence. We at CAASITECH, we are very excited. We are delighted to have all of you here. Thank you for making out time to come so that we should talk about the things that we are normally supposed to be talking about, given the impact that they have on our girls, on our society. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Yvette Nange. I am the country lead for CAASITECH Group Cameroon, and I'm going to be your host for this webinar. Some of you are here and you don't know what CAASITECH Group represents. So before we move into the topic of today, I will briefly have to introduce you to CAASITECH Group. So CAASITECH Group is a technology startup, an AI-driven technology startup, and we are dedicated to fueling a technological revolution in Africa. Our mission is to impact our communities, and we want to leverage the power of technology to be able to solve the problems that are found in our environment. Okay, so I know some of you will be asking the question, so what is the relationship between a technology startup and the gender-based violence? As I said, the mission of CAASITECH Group is impact, and we want to impact on the problems that we have on our environment. So if gender-based violence is an issue in an environment, and therefore it is a place of CAASITECH Group to enter there and poke their nose into it. Any issue around us that we detect that is a problem, we go into it, study it, create awareness about it, and at the end of the day, the only question we ask is, how can we use technology to solve this problem? So if we are here today, is because we have discovered that gender-based violence is prevalent in our communities, and CAASITECH Group women are particularly asking that question on how can they use technology to solve this problem. But that is not why we are here today. We are here to talk about empowerment of women against gender-based violence. I'll be co-hosting this webinar with my colleagues here. So that's me, Yvette. We have to put our faces on the screen so that you can see those people that are talking to you. That's me, Yvette, your host. And then there's going to be Erica Ndongo. She is a machine learning analyst at CAASITECH Group, and she's a gender-based violence advocate. She's going to be intervening during this webinar. We also have Glory Newa. She is a UX and UI analyst in CAASITECH Group, and she is also a gender-based advocate. She is also going to be one of the speakers for this webinar. So on our agenda, we are going to explore the notion of gender-based violence, try to understand what gender-based violence is, and I'm going to come in to intervene at that point and talk about it. After which, we are going to talk about some precautionary measures for women to protect themselves against gender-based violence. Erica will come in at that point. And of course, we are going to talk about how to empower survivors and some legal rights and resources that are at our disposal for people who are victims or survivors, to make use of them to regain their rights in the society. In a very special way, I would like to welcome Stankolo Brastin, who is going to also intervene towards the end of this webinar. He is the country lead for the Association of Women Empowerment in Cameroon. And who else can talk about women empowerment and gender-based violence better than someone who is on the field, who lives these experiences every day, than Mr. Braston. So you're welcome, sir. I'm going to be calling you in towards the end for you to highlight a lot of things for us. Some small further instructions before I start. The chat is open. You are going to, maybe if you have something to say, you have a text to send, you can always type it in the chat and we are going to see it. If you relate with something that someone is saying, you can always send a reaction, as I see most people confirming when you agree with something, you confirm it, you smile about things that are being said. Yeah. Wow. So I apologize, as Cameroon will have it. Our network ceased here in the office. And I don't know why I had to choose this time. We apologize for this. So before I went off, I was going to start talking about understanding gender-based violence. Okay, so what is gender-based violence? We are trying to say here that gender-based violence encompasses all forms of violence that are directed towards individuals that is based on their gender. This means that if there is anything you ever thought of doing to somebody and you say, no, let me do it to a woman because she cannot defend herself faced with a particular situation, then you have exhibited gender-based violence. It is any form of violence, be it physical, be it sexual, be it emotional, that you carry out on somebody based on the fact that what they are of the weaker gender, on the fact that they cannot protect themselves while you are carrying out the act. Okay, so we are looking at how gender-based violence manifests, like what are the various types of gender-based violence. The first one I have there on the screen is domestic violence, specifically intimate partner violence. So domestic violence is what? Any form of violence that takes place in a place that is supposed to be called a home, that is supposed to have harmony. That particular violence can be physical, where you have physical assault, hitting of people, slapping, choking of people, forced confinement. The violence can also be physical. It can be verbal, excuse me, that has to do with insults, derogatory remarks and threats that comes to one and their personality. They are also psychological, like manipulations, control, and intimidation. I have to take our time to list all of these because there may be some people who are subject to this form of violence, and because the society has made us believe that it is normal, they may not know that they have to stand up and say no to all of those things. So I took out time and I want to list all of them. So if there is anybody or you know somebody who undergoes such form of intimidation, somebody continuously assaults them, insults them, gaslights them, make them to doubt their reality, isolates them from friends and family, all of those are forms of what? Violations of human rights that we have to talk about today. The next form of gender-based violence that I have is harassment. And the harassment encompasses all forms of violence that I just named up there. All forms of violence that I just named up there. And this time around, including what? Forcefully having sexual intercourse without the consent of the individual, rape, coercion, forcing people to have what? Unwanted sex. That is a form of what? gender-based violence. Another form of gender-based violence that I'm going to emphasize on, which is going to be the last one, is what? Harmful traditional practices. We are talking about, for example, female genital mutilations that is carried out in most cultures, in most tribes, and people from those tribes, they think it is normal. They think it is normal to deprive a woman from her rights as a woman to enjoy sexual intimacy with a man. All of those things are directed to people because there is a particular belief that they're supposed to be down there. They're not supposed to have a right to feel any form of pleasure. They're not supposed to have a right to anything. So all of those things are what? They are violence on the woman based on her gender. So the question we ask ourselves is, why are we even talking about gender-based violence? Why is it so a call for concern that we should gather in a place like this to talk about gender-based violence? The statistics around this gender-based violence in Cameroon are so alarming. So we took our time and we put together some statistics that are going to give you people reason, as in make everybody understand why this should be a topic that is frequently discussed, that people should frequently come together to talk about it. So a study from the United Nations revealed in 2021 that 1 in every 3 girls was involved in sexual violence in the troubled Anglophone regions of our country. And then another study revealed that 4,000 reported cases of gender-based violence in the Anglophone regions in Cameroon in 2020. This particular study research was conducted by the United Nations, and these are the statistics that we get. While we are still wrapping our heads around those statistics, we also got a report from the United Nations Women that in 2021, 1 million people in Cameroon needed gender-based violence, and 94% of the gender-based services, and 94% of them were women. Okay, as we are looking at that, we also come to the realization that about 500 rape cases were registered still in the troubled Northwest and Southwest regions in the first quarter of 2021. It means in 3 months, 500 girls, about 500 girls are being raped or being sexually assaulted. And even given the poor state of data collection and storage in our country, you notice that these statistics, they don't even capture the real situation that we observe in the fields. All right, and about 43% of women in union are faced with domestic violence. This is a study by the Cameroon government. So most of the women you see out there with smiling faces coming out to be strong for themselves and their children on a daily basis, 43% of them go through such violence. So the objective of presenting these statistics is just for us to see the gravity of what we are facing, so that whenever we come across a solution, something that can help push the fight against gender-based violence, we think about how people are suffering, and then we remember the statistics and we put it our all in order to protect our women, to protect our girls against these gender-based violence practices. Now I am going to discuss the root causes of gender-based violence. Why is it so prominent in our society? Why is it that it has become a norm and so many people really even see it like there is no problem in it again? So I'm looking at sociocultural factors. Sociocultural factors that have kind of, the society have defined some norms and some rules that women are supposed to play. There are even some traditional beliefs that perpetuate male dominance and and female subordination. Those are the kind of mentalities that we are born into, that we grow up not exposed to any form of education that helps us to do away with those mindsets, and we end up repeating what the same problems that our forefathers committed. There is also stigma and silence, because there are some cultural norms that discourage survivors of gender-based violence to speak up because of fear, because of shame, and because of blame, and because of retaliation. Those are just some of the social factors. And one of them is also lack of awareness. How many people give a listening ear when there is a gathering, a seminar, a webinar, talking about the aspect of gender-based violence? There is lack of awareness. People don't really care about it because they think that it is not a problem. And that is one of the root causes. That is why this germ continue to eat deep in our societies. The next root cause of gender-based violence that we have identified is economic factors. This one really touches me in a deep place because of certain experiences. It is economic insecurity normally increases the vulnerability of gender-based violence. Poverty can always lead to stress, frustration, and risky coping mechanisms. So what happens is that economic dependency is a very important, the most likely factor, even according to me, that makes men to treat women the way they do. If I don't give her the money, what will she do? If I beat her, send her out of my house and lock her out of the gate, what will she do? You discover that out of these statistics that I have just given, I may even say that 90% of the cases are based on the fact that women are totally dependent on men. Some of them even restrict women who have capabilities of working just because they can stay back and show that they are men on top of them by refusing to give when they don't want to give, and by giving when they don't want to give, and all of those things. So I will not cross this without saying that women that are on this call, empower yourselves. This, according to me, is even the most. I've not seen a woman that is empowered financially that a man can do anything to her. I've not seen even one of them, except you really have somebody who is just a beast. But when you are empowered, when you can bring something from the table, when you can remove money from your pocket to prepare breakfast for your husband, I'm sure even if it's an animal, he's definitely going to just calm down. So let's take this particular point seriously. The last factor that I'm going to talk about that is the root cause of gender-based violence in our society is the legal and the policy context. Now, you discover that effective laws are very crucial. And some countries lack comprehensive legal frameworks that protect victims or survivors from all forms of gender-based violence. And there is also weak enforcement of existing laws, and which allows perpetrators to act all the time with impunity, like who is going to punish me if I don't do this, if I don't do that. So there are certain countries, I don't want to quote countries here, but we know them. Some of us are living the experiences of these countries, that they don't even give access to the justice system, especially when it comes to the notions of gender-based violence. The justice system is costly. There is lack of legal aid, and there's very slow judicial processes that hinder justice. It makes people fear to speak up, not only fear to speak up, but do not have the capacity to speak up. We are in a country like Cameroon. Most elderly people that are here may even understand the process of obtaining a divorce in Cameroon. Whether you are battered in that house, the first fear that comes to your mind is, if I leave, will I ever be free from this man? Because the first thing you do when you contact the lawyer is, you first of all going to drop 400,000, and then after 2 months you will drop another 500,000, and then before the lawyer gives his final verdict, before the judge gives his final verdict, it's going to be another 500,000 for a woman that has been battered, and she has to go through all of these things. That is why you see most women in Cameroon that have left their husband houses. 80% of them are not legally divorced because the law does not enforce to maybe prioritize these kind of things. So you are out, you cannot seek for a divorce because you are financially handicapped. And even when you are not financially handicapped, you cannot, the systems, the judge is on break, you have to go wait for 5 months. It makes it so difficult for some people. At times when I observe some of the forms they present about you entering your marital status when you want to register for an event and all of that, you see single, married, divorce, and all of that. I wish there is an option there for all of that both, because there are actually women in Cameroon. 80% of the cases that I know of women who have left their husband's houses, the option they have to pick there is really all of that both, because they are either widowed, they are neither widowed, they are neither divorced, they are neither married, they are neither single. So those are some of those laws that the negligence that the state puts forward, and it makes people to suffer gender-based violence, and they cannot take steps. The last point I'm going to emphasize under this one is what? Is data and evidence. We know that good data informs policy design, it informs monitoring, it informs evaluation. But in Cameroon, particularly, we have a challenge that has to do with underreporting, data comparability, and capacity gaps. As I said, this issue is not measured. It is not held with the weight at which it was supposed to be held, because it is not even captured. There are no systems, there are no platforms that helps us to really capture this data and bring it out there and show it to people that this is what our girls are going through. Okay, so without talking too much, given that I'm going to still talk during this session, I'd like to thank all of you for listening. I am going to introduce to you the next speaker for this webinar. Her name is Erica. I already showed her some time ago, and she definitely is going to be talking to us about some precautionary measures that we can take as women to prevent gender-based violence. So, Erica, can we have you, please?
Thank you, Madam. Yes. Hello, everyone. I hope everybody here is fine. So I'll be sharing my screen.
We can hear you, Erica.
So as Madam earlier introduced me, my name is Erica Ndongo, and I am a machine learning analyst at CAASITECH Group and also a gender-based violence advocate. What all of that means ultimately is that I use my skills in order to be able to promote safety in our community. I am very grateful to be here with all of you guys trying to understand this topic, that's gender-based violence, and I'll be focused on precautionary measures for women. Those are precautionary measures, and this is a particular topic that we have been studying here at CAASITECH for a very long period of time. We spend days and nights, work days, and even weekends struggling to understand and even build safety strategies for our community. On our journey, we discovered a lot of common precautionary measures that women can take to protect themselves. So we wanted to understand what makes a woman successful, what is that about her that makes her successful, that makes her to be able to strive in a society. And I would like everybody here to share with us in the message section one of a common trait that a successful woman has that you might share with us. Let's go through them and see if it concords with what actually makes a woman strive in the society. So I'm actually waiting and looking at the messages. Sarah says resilience. All right, thank you, Sarah. Who else? So while waiting for everybody to introduce their own threads of what makes a woman successful, I'll go beyond. I'll start talking about what makes a woman successful. What makes a woman successful is the ability to be able to defend herself, the ability to be able to protect herself in order to strive and attain her objective. So that's the very first point. We are here to be able to protect ourselves. What does it mean to protect yourself as a woman? It means to be able to fulfill, to be able to protect your physical well-being, not just your physical well-being, but also your mental well-being. You're doing that and you're trying to protect yourself because you want to promote your day-to-day activities. You want to be able to fulfill your potential as an individual in your workplace, in your community, and to also participate in the economy of the country. All of that, you do it because you want to be able to build your resilience, not just also your resilience, but the resilience of your sisters, your aunties, your mothers. That's why you are so, you want to be empowered, you want to be safe. That's why you want to be successful in life. That's your primary goal. So this is very concerning because when you look at the statistics that Madame Yvette shared earlier, you realize that you are not being protected. You're not feeling protected. You're not safe. So we are essentially here to share precautionary measures that are practical, precautionary measures that you can you can incorporate in your day-to-day activities to make sure that you are the master of your safety. So in our research here at CAASITECH, we found a lot of precautionary measures. There are a lot of them. If you know any precautionary measures or you have been using a coping system, feel also free to share them in the message section. So we see along how people have been coping for a very long period of time in this unsafe environment. Feel free to send in your coping mechanisms, your precautionary measures that you have been using. So we kind of go through them and see what works and what doesn't work. So I see Glory and Nadine has and let's look at all of the messages. We have, okay, people are kind of slow with putting their coping mechanisms. So we'll move on and we'll try to understand all of the precautionary measures we have here. And whereas people can add their precautionary measures as we go along, and we'll see what comes up and how we can address all of those precautionary measures. The very know your environment. You want to know your environment in order to be able to avoid those things that make you unsafe in your environment. You have to be able to know your environment, to master the risks and the opportunities of your environment. What are the goals that you want to achieve in your environment, whether it's home or out of your homes? What are those things you want to master in your environment? You also know your environment because you want to feel confident. You want to feel confident about the place where you are. And a lot of people will answer this by saying, what if I'm going to a place that I've never been to? I'm going to a new place. I will give you an answer by telling you that with social media recently and with the internet, you can research about the places where you're going to. And beyond that, you are a woman and you have you have an instinct, you have an intuition. Every single time you are in an environment and you feel that that environment is becoming unsafe, you have clues of those. You need to be able to know how to recognize those clues, to be able to get out of that environment when it becomes unsafe. So the second thing, beyond knowing your environment, you need to know how to act in that environment. You need to be able to avoid distractions in isolated or unfamiliar places. Distractions like using your phones or using your headphones. A lot of people will say we're in a digital era. Everybody is using their phones. We need to be on our phones to communicate with people, to keep our communities moving. And I'll tell you, those things don't rush. An answer to that, I'll tell you a story. I was recently by the roadside trying to get a bike, but in her endeavor, she was also texting and laughing on her phone. I saw a bikeman coming aggressively at her, taking not just her phone, but also her bag by the same occasion. She was so shocked. She started running after the bikeman in order to gain back her bag and her phone. But after a few minutes, unfortunately, sad, she stopped running. And this woman, she surely knew that she was by the roadside, but she didn't know how to act in that environment. She didn't know that if she's by the roadside, if she's in a very crowded environment, if she's going through a very dark spot in her quarter, she needs to avoid getting distracted, avoid using her phone or having phone music on with her headphones in those areas that she don't know, or those places are isolated. Beyond knowing your environment and avoid getting distracted in those places, you need to be conscious of places known for criminal activities. Why not avoiding places that you know are known for criminal activities? For example, here in Cameroon, I know that Olembe is not a very safe place, whether it's in the day or in the night. So if I have something to achieve in Olembe, I ask myself the question, can I achieve that same goal in another place? Or if I cannot achieve that same goal in another place, can I get myself enough protected when I go there so that whenever I go there, I can come back from that place safe and sound? So this is very important. Avoid getting to places that you know for criminal activity. If anybody here knows another place aside from Olembe that is known for criminal activity, feel free to add it to the message section so everybody can know those places and get more conscious about those places, get more aware about those places. So if they want to go there, they can build their safety in a way that they can stay sound when they go to those places that are known for criminal activities. Again, a lot of people feel like when they share their plans or they keep their contacts informed about the places where they go to, it kind of limits their freedom. It makes them not free enough. But that's not true. You are still able to go to places freely, even when you tell your sister, a friend, or two friends that here I'm going to these places. And this can also be a very great game changer, especially when you are not able to avoid being harassed on the road, to avoid being having an accident on the road. This will help you a lot if you're able to keep 2 or 3 people aware of your location and of your plans. Those people, if they know that by this time we're supposed to be here, they can start looking for you, they can start investigating to find out, is there something wrong with you? And this will be a great game changer in the matter of saving your time when you're in a situation that is urgent. So a lot of people now think that it's not their duty to defend themselves on the road. That if something happened to them, it's the responsibility of another person or somebody that's older, somebody that's stronger, that they kind of minimize their ability to defend themselves on the road. I still remember my first experience with a pepper spray, a defensive tool that I was like, why will I ever use a pepper spray. If somebody even, I'll not even be able to defend myself. But I changed my mind and I elevated my mindset and I told myself I also can be the master of my own safety. I can defend myself. I can use a pepper spray or a personal alarm in situations where I am being harassed or in an accident. This will really be important in a matter where you have to save time to get away from a place that is becoming really unsafe. They are very you're being harassed on the road, you have to be able to save time so that you can go away of those places. Now, you want to keep your defensive tools really handy in a way that they cannot be turned against you. A lot of people think that they can have a defensive tool like a knife or a blade. No, you want to have a defensive tool that cannot be used to wound you. So keep your defensive tools like pepper spray or a personal alarm or something else that you know you can that cannot be turned against you. Thank you very much. If anybody has another precautionary measure that they want to add, they can add them. But for these precautionary measures are really basic precautionary measures. They're foundational precautionary measures that are important. Know your environment, avoid getting distracted in isolated places, be cautious of criminal places that are known for criminal activity with your relatives and carry defensive tools. I hope everybody can incorporate this in their day-to-day activity.
Thank you, Erica, for those great insights. We have learned a lot. I have learned a lot. There is no need summarizing what Erica was saying. She's been explicit enough. She was given this role because she's vigilant, she's smart, she's observant, and no other person could have presented this better than Erica. So I'm going to be introducing Glory. Glory, can you come in? Glory, can you hear me?
Yes, man, I can get you.
Yeah, please. So Glory is going to be talking to us about empowering survivors. She's going to explain to us our legal rights as women, as individuals, and then she's going to also provide some resources that we can either run to all the time to empower ourselves or go there as victims or as survivors of gender-based violence. So Glory is highly advocating against gender-based violence based on some personal experiences. And I think she is the best person to talk to us on how survivors can cope, on the resources they can always run to when they are faced with gender-based violence. Glory, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, madam. Good evening, everyone. I'm called Glory Newa, a UX designer at CAASITECH, and I am a gender-based violence advocate. So I'll be talking about empowering survivors, legal rights, and resources. So to start with, I'll talk about legal rights. How many of you here know your legal rights? You can react through the emoji, thumbs up if you know, thumbs down if you don't know. Okay, I see a lot of you don't know. So knowing your right is knowing your inner power and empowering yourself to be able to put limitations to people on what they do to you. So these rights are actually helping you to be able to know what somebody cannot do to you and to be able to empower yourself. Here in the society that makes us women to understand that we have no right, and have actually limited us in so many ways. The stress have make us understand that women don't have any right, and they actually make us settle for what is wrong to be good and what is good to be wrong. In Africa, African culture have actually make us understand that girls don't have right. A lot of girls have been sent for early marriages, and education is not the priority for women here in Africa. Some of these rights can be right for liberty. A lot of us here don't have the liberty. Since we are women, like here in Africa, parents always restrict ladies from going out. They always say, no, you cannot go anywhere. You are not a man. You need to stay at home. You don't have that, you don't have the strength to protect yourself, which is wrong. You actually have the right for liberty. You have the right to go anywhere you wish to. Let nobody deprive you from that right. And another right is right for speech. You have the right to talk. A lot of us here in Africa, our culture may not understand that women don't have any right to talk when a man is actually talking. Even when the man is wrong, they still don't have the right to speak out for themselves, and which is not a good way. You have the right to speak as a lady. You have the right to stand for yourself. You have the right to support yourself as a lady. Our next right is education. Back then, when I was at the North, I saw a 15, 16-year-old girl that was given out for marriage, even when she was still in school. So I actually understood that there at the North, they don't respect ladies. They don't know that ladies are meant to be in the kitchen, ladies are meant for producing babies. They don't really they don't think whether they have to go to school or not. So knowing all this, right, you know, a lot of us have gone through traumatic experience, and we actually need resources in order to overcome that traumatic experience. We actually need resources to overcome our healing journey. So one of the resources that I will talk about is counseling. Counseling is one of the resources that I will encourage each and every one of you to have in case you have a traumatic experience. A lot of us face difficulties talking about our traumatic experience out there. But I think counseling actually helps you to navigate through your painful experience that you had. You have to actually talk in order to heal. If you don't speak, you will not be able to heal from your traumatic experience. So the counselor is here to help you to navigate through that traumatic experience, to make you understand the feeling. Because a lot of us actually try to escape from our pain. We try to look for something else that can comfort us, like drug addict, to avoid that painful experience, which is wrong. You need that painful experience in order to heal. So we have some NGOs that can actually help you. As you can see on my screen, we have the Hope for Needy Association that's situated in Bamenda, and you can see that contact on my screen. At the end of this webinar, we'll distribute this presentation. Whosoever needs it. The next association we have is Center for Advocacy in Gender Equality and Action for Development. That's situated in Bamenda, and here is the contact. And the next NGO we have is Association for Women Empowerment in Cameroon. They're located in Boya, UB Junction, as you can see on the screen. Our next sources are books. Yeah, these books are very important. All what I'm going to list as resources for survivors are very important. Books, you can actually get them online for free. You don't need to download them. There are free resources that you can get online. And one of the books here on my screen, we have The Courage to Heal by Ellen Bass and Laura. It's a book that actually talks about women that have gone through sexual abuse, have gone through traumatic experience, and they really want to heal to that traumatic experience. This book actually helps you on your healing journey. This book helps you to navigate through your healing journey. And the next book is The Mountain Is You by Rene West. This book, a lot of us think that is somebody else that is our obstacle, is somebody else that is blocking us from reaching our goals. If you don't heal from your traumatic experience, you'll not be able to reach your goal. Nobody is blocking you from reaching your goal. You are the one blocking yourself. So you need to heal from your traumatic experience in order to achieve your goal. So this is what this book actually talks about. The next book is The Myth of No Man by Biyem. This is a book that actually talks about your triggers, talks about the traumatic experience that you went through, and it's a book that will advise and encourage everyone to read. It will make you understand your triggers, make you understand your environment and the pain you went through. The next book we have is The Body Keeps the Score. So if you think you have gone through a traumatic experience and you think or things you have not told anybody, you have not worked on it, you are going to forget about, no. The body actually keeps any traumatic experience that you have. And if you are that person that have not overcome that traumatic experience, you have not healed from your past traumatic experience, it will actually manifest one day out without you even knowing. It's not as if you wanted it, but you manifest because you have not healed from that traumatic experience. This is what the book actually talks about. The last book we have, The Body Remembers by Benny Rothschild. So this book talks about whatsoever traumatic experience that you have gone through, your body always remembers. So you need to heal, because if you don't heal from that traumatic experience, that trauma that you have that is not yet healed, it will be passed on to your child. So you have to make sure that you heal from it in order not to transfer that traumatic experience to your child. And I'll encourage every lady that is here to read The Courage to Heal. It's a very good book that can help those who have gone through traumatic experience, and I really encourage you to read the book. The next resources we have is support groups and shelter. Support groups, a lot of people face difficulties talking about the traumatic experience out there because they feel they'll be laughed at, they're going to mock at them, or they feel ashamed. So they always feel skeptical talking about that traumatic experience, and they decide to keep it personal, which is wrong. That's why you have support groups out here to help you. You will actually meet other survivors that have gone through that same traumatic experience, whereby you guys can share your experience and support each other. On my screen, you can see Community for Agriculture and Environment Protection Association. This NGO is situated in Bamenda, and they also deal with support shelter. A lot of ladies face difficulties living the abusive environment because they feel they don't have the financial support, as Madam Yvette earlier said. They feel if they leave this place, who is going to help them? Who is going to take care of them? That's why NGOs are out there to help those who are going. NGOs are actually there to help you support. You can leave that abusive environment. You can leave that environment that is not good for your mental health. NGOs are there to help you to recover from that traumatic experience in order to start back your life from afresh. And last but not least, we have CEO Diary. Last but not least, we have the podcast, which is the CEO Diary, which is my favorite podcast on YouTube. And this podcast, he actually brings women that have gone through traumatic experience, women that have faced difficulties in life, how they actually thrive and came back to themselves. And I will encourage each and everyone to look for a podcast that's suitable for you on YouTube, the one you feel comfortable, the one you feel you can be impacted, and you listen to. With that all being said, healing is a journey. Always remember that you are going to have ups and downs, good days and bad days. Always have compassion for yourself, love yourself, celebrate the little milestone that you do, and never hesitate to ask for help. Asking for help doesn't mean you're actually giving up. Asking for help is actually means that you are actually you are not giving up from your healing. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Glory, for that brilliant presentation. Thank you so much for the people that have been consistent, even with the shaky network. You have been here listening to us. So what do we have on the screen? As I said from the beginning, that CAASITECH group, where we are from, is about impact. And I also made you to understand that wherever there is a problem, we are going to poke our noses into it, and we are going to ask ourselves, how can we use technology in order to solve this problem? We have been talking about gender-based violence, and this last screen that you have here is an initiative from the women of CAASITECH that they have come up with in their little way to see how they can contribute to empower people, to empower our girls, to empower our women, and give them the tool that we think that they can use in the case of any form of violence and any form of emergency in order to get help for themselves. So this is an application, a mobile app, SOS by CAASITECH, and as you can clearly see, an initiative from CAASITECH Women to Fight Against Gender-Based Violence. How does it work? When you download this app into your phone from Play Store or from App Store, the very first thing you do is you ask yourself, who are those people that can immediately come to my help when I'm in a situation of emergency, or when I'm being violated or in any way or in any form. When you ask yourself these questions, you take the numbers of these people and you enter them into the application as what? Your emergency contacts. These are the people that the app will notify first when you are in a situation of an emergency, and you initiate what we call what? Emergency protocols that I'm talking about very soon. So when you have your personal emergency network formed within this application, when you are in a situation of harassment, you are about to be violated in any way, there are several ways you can initiate an emergency protocol. You can either press the panic button, you can see it right there on the screen, you press. And when you press it, what happens is that the app immediately sends what? Notifications to the people you initially entered into your phone as your emergency contact, that you are in situation of an emergency and you need help. What happens is that this app also sends what? Your current location to the person, and also the estimated time that the person can take in order to get to where you are to save you. At the same time, it exposes what? Nearby hospitals around you and how you can get to them. It also exposes the police station. So based on the state of the emergency, you may need to be going to the hospital, you may need to be going to the police station. It gives you all of these data. This application also allows you to form communities. If you live in a village or in a quarter whereby there are a lot of theft, people are easily harassed, you can come together as a quarter and form a community using what we call the Biyem feature. So that when one person in that community is in an emergency, everybody gets a notification and they can all rally to get immediate help to that particular person. There is also a feature where you can follow somebody, as in somebody is walking home at night and feels unsafe. You can share your movement with somebody at home who follows you step by step throughout your journey. If they have the possibility to check in on you from one time to another. Are you safe? Are you okay? So if the point comes where you can no longer respond, they feel that you are in emergency, they can trigger emergency protocol, or your contacts will be notified and all of that. There is a lot more, but this is our first meeting. And what I'm saying is, we are not those people that will come to expose a problem without bringing in what? Our little, how much we have contributed in order to make sure that this problem is solved in our society. And more to that, I was talking about economic empowerment. There are so many people here that can be empowered economically, so many women. Just by talking to people about this app, you are going to earn a lot of money. So What you see there on the screen is my contact. Most of you know me. You're going to contact me for any further questions, and I'm going to be talking a lot on our subsequent webinars. We'll be talking a lot. So that is just it. We are going to get more questions in the question and answer session. But before then, I would like to bring in an important person into this meeting. His name is Mr. Brastin. He is the country lead for the Association of Women Empowerment in Cameroon, and I'm so honored to have him here today. So, Mr. Brastin, you have to come in and give us some practical talks about this. You are the one on the field. You see all of these things on a daily basis. How do we fight it? How do we protect ourselves? You will share with us some resources and where we can go to when we find ourselves as women in a compromising situation. So you can just unmute your mic and come in, Mr. Brastin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nkolo Brastin, the project manager for Association for Women Empowerment. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Excuse me, my voice. I don't know. Yeah, so as I was saying, I'm the project manager and for Association for Women Empowerment Cameroon. I really appreciate Madame Yvette for giving me the opportunity to talk in this program. It's indeed enriching. I've sat down and listened from the beginning till now. I've learned precautionary methods. It was so enriching by Madame Erica. I think it's Erica. Yeah, it's Madame Erica that was talking about the precautionary methods. So I heard something like the pepper spray. Wow. It was good. So gender-based violence, all has been said about gender-based violence. Yeah, from the definition that Madame Yvette gave, gender-based violence is an umbrella term. It's an umbrella term of all harmful practices. It's just an umbrella. We call it in our domain the GBV tree. Yeah, so it's an umbrella term. And I heard she talked about I think she missed out one thing when she was talking about the forms. I didn't hear about economic violence. Economic violence, I think she said it around the root causes. Madam Yvette, am I on track?
Yeah, you are. You're on track.
So women, let me come in by saying women are supposed to understand that Africa is psychiatric. You get me? We are not in the Western world, so we are all. There is a way we can prevent, but you cannot totally eradicate gender-based violence, because the men in Africa knows that they are men. And Africa is psychiatric. Favor goes to men a lot, and some traditional practices also give men the power. So we are fighting our only two way to eradicate it. So what Association for Women Empowerment does is we have a method that we do. It's called the SASA method, the SASA methodology. Well, the first S starts for the starting phase, where we train our mobilizers and counselors. We train them on how to go to the field, to the community to sensitize. And the A starts for the awareness phase. Awareness, the mobilizer, when they are already equipped with materials, with available materials that they need, they create awareness. They start talking about what is gender-based violence and the forms of the gender-based violence, types, consequences of gender-based violence, and the causes of gender-based violence. And I want to also, I cannot say everything because everything was said. I will just be intervening in some parts. So some causes of gender-based violence is we have root causes like gender inequality, like what I was saying. Africa is psychiatry. Yeah, so they regard that men are lions in Africa, A woman cannot talk when a man is talking, which is wrong. We have fundamental human rights, which says that everybody is equal, be it a man or a woman. So, but in Africa, we don't respect laws, and we have what they call the abuse of power. Abuse of power. That is power imbalance. We know some women cannot hold credible positions in the country. Some big position. Why? Because you are a woman. It's only meant for men. Yeah, which is wrong. Which we are trying to raise awareness. That is what we do. As I was saying, we're at the awareness phase now. The support phase. Now, AWEG does. AWEG means Association for Women Empowerment. When we speak out as a survivor, and when you speak out, we support you, we empower you financially, with counseling, as the last speaker just said about counseling, the precautionary method. I think it was the how to empower survivors here. We counsel them. We have counselors and mobilizers. So when a mobilizer brings a case, maybe you are a survivor of gender-based violence, be it rape, be it emotional violence, or be economic violence. Because when I talk about economic violence, those men that deprive their women of doing businesses, they think that they will be the only person to provide everything in the house. So that's when a man deprive a woman from doing some businesses, you are violating the right the rights of that woman. Yeah, so we help you we support you. If the case, like for example, let me give a case we had in Bepanda. We operate mostly in Bepanda, in Douala 4, Douala 5. So let me just share an experience I had. We went to the field. My mobilizers and counselor went to a house to do some sensitization, and they discovered that a woman, children, like there were 4. I think that the girls were 8 and 4 years old. They were IDPs from the Northwest, precisely. So they came to Douala 5, which is Bepanda, to start up, because everything was burned. Her husband was shot by those guys in the Northwest region. So she came here because of her inability to pay rent. The landlord, who is 75 years old, started sleeping with those children. They were being violated because it's an exchange of the rent, and the woman was quiet. She wasn't saying anything. She wasn't saying anything because she had no help. So when we went, when my counselors went to the field, the wife of the perpetrator, she understood that we are an NGO that fights against gender-based violence. She sent, the mobilizers entered the compound. The woman came out and sent them out of a compound, that they don't want to listen to these our things that we are saying. So before the woman could speak out, the woman of the survivor, like the mother of those 2 kids, she came out and was explaining her case, that this is what is happening. This is what is happening. This is what has been happening for, I think, was 4 months. We had to intervene in that case. First, follow legal procedures. Make sure the man was locked up, and we took this because when a survivor is still in the hands of the perpetrator, the survivor is at risk. The survivor is at risk. So what we do is we have a safe space. I think the last speaker was talking about creating a safe space. We have a safe space where we take those survivors, we train them, and our counselors do their job in order to, you cannot completely eradicate stigma from somebody's head. So we try our best to make them to have a stable mindset. So what we did was, I took those children and their mom. While the man is in prison, I took those children, I removed them from the hands of the perpetrator. I took them to our safe space, which is in Boya. We kept them there for, I think, at least 3 months. So after that, I'm just explaining the support phase that we do. Now, talking about the action phase, I think we are on the SASA, our method, what we use in order to eradicate gender-based violence. The action phase is we always tell survivors to speak out. We always tell survivors to speak out. So many don't talk. So many. That's an experience in the field. What we have been having. Do you go to a survivor's house, you are preaching gender-based violence, she will ask you, or they will ask you that, what if I report now, what will my husband do to me, or what will the person do? Because it's as if when they report, they are causing more harm to themselves. So that is what makes survivors don't talk. They stay quiet because they are afraid that the perpetrator might come back for them. So the mechanism we do is that what we do is we tell them, our counselors counsel them, they tell them that it's okay. You are sick, your information is purely secret. Nobody will know. Just stay calm and see how we work. And what we do is that we organize community. That's the taking action phase. Means we urge them to talk. They take action by organizing community dialogues with the community stakeholders. We go, we organize community dialogue, we preach on gender-based violence. We talk, we say preaching, we preach, and we tell them that when you are quiet, you will be in that anxiety, you will be in that stigmatization for a lifetime. So it's better for you to talk and get help. Yeah. So that is how Association for Women Empowerment has struggled to gain grounds. And I think in Douala, we worked on a project in 2023 with one of our partners. We're doing subgranting with under Reach Out. We had about 5,000 cases in between 2000 and in 2023, 5,000 rape cases, cases of gender-based violence, be domestic, sexual, and domestic, sexual, and economic. Yeah, and we succeeded to empower, I think it was 3,000 empower 3,000 people in Douala 4, Douala 5 municipality. Because there were funds for that, and we needed to help them with petty businesses like selling of tomatoes, like a small shop. We give them a small table market. So our Association for Women Empowerment is open. Our experience in the field, we have had, the first time we started, we had a lot of setbacks because of language barrier, and our staffs were not trained because we're working in a francophone zone. So when you go, the people don't understand what you're saying. Every time we started gaining mastery of the environment, and we work in hand in glove. We work hand in glove with the Prof or Minister of Family, and they help us too in one of the way to, because we attend their seminars. We take opportunities when they have their seminars with those government officials. We talk, and that's how Association for Women Empowerment grew, and people started talking. There are times I'm in the office to call me, there's a case here, there is a case there, come and see what is happening. So it's because of our methodology that we are using. And I want to also appreciate CAASITECH, because that their software is very, very enriching. It has a lot of advantages to women. It has a lot of advantages to women that it helps you. From the overview I just saw on the screen, I've not downloaded the app, sorry, but I have seen the explanation that Madam Yvette was giving. Yeah, thank you very much. If there is any question, I'm open to answer. Thank you, Madam Yvette. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Preston. You cannot imagine how I feel. I'm excited. I'm delighted. And I don't know what to say. I'm just grateful. Thank you for honoring this invitation, for taking out time out of your busy schedule. I know the two of us know how it is for you there, even to get you on a call. It's always very difficult. So I thank you for coming in to make us understand, make me understand that there are phases of intervention when working with dealing with gender-based violence cases. There is a starting phase, there is an awareness phase, there is a support phase and an action phase, and all of these phases have particular activities associated to them, and all of them are geared towards helping the victim or the survivor to get out of the mess, be it physical violence, mental violence, through counseling, through aid, financial aid, and all of that. And I was presenting some statistics. I was thinking they are alarming. And you're talking about 5,000 cases of domestic sexual violence and economic violence in Douala alone, in Douala 4 and 5 municipalities, as you said. And just in 2023, such statistics they break my heart. Thank you to our work for the work you are doing in Douala, and we are going to see how to work together to push all of this, push safety measures for our women, in order to reduce, as you rightly said, we can never completely eliminate a phenomenon. All we have to try to do is to prevent it. Okay, so right now, the floor is open, and I'm going to be taking brief interventions and questions at the same time. If there's anybody that has a question, a remark, just put up your hand, and then I'll allow you to speak. Just raise your hand, and I'll give you the floor to speak, either to intervene, to do a remark, to say something that we missed that is really pertinent, or to add on to something, ask a question, all of that. Nobody has a remark, nobody has a question, nobody wants to say anything. Most of you saw the SOS by CAASITECH app for the first time. You don't have questions? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Bobka. Just unmute your microphone and speak. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Sorry, I just joined a little bit late, but I got what the previous speaker said. Nkulu. I got what he said. His statistics are actually accurate. And the funniest thing is that I met with one. I'm in Bonaberi actually. I met with one women empowerment leader, and I proposed CAASITECH, SOS by CAASITECH app to her. And she laughed. When she laughed, I asked her, why are you laughing, Rahel? She said, her name is Randy Rahel. I asked, why? Why are you laughing, Rahel? She said, Cameroonian women don't complain about gender violence. That she has this interior outreach project that she used to carry out on gender violence and all the like. So she made me understand that the app is good, but the women themselves, they don't complain about domestic violence. The women don't complain. So if my brother could say at least they have 5,000 cases of such domestic violence or gender violence, it's even going to be more. 5,000 is just what you just know, but there are more. It's more than. And I was like saying, wow, in any time that you have this seminar on women, you can call me and I'll come talk about trying to make these women know that it's not all violence that you can accept. Most of the women, they just sit in their corner and they just believe in this archaic behavior that you can actually report your husband, his their head and what they like. So yes, so it's really, really alarming. Just in Bonabera, I was very surprised. A woman who is in Women Empowerment Outreach Development Program came to me and told me that, Bob, Cameroonian women don't complain. They don't complain about domestic violence. They can complain that the husband don't give them food. The husband doesn't commit his duties. They can complain about any other thing, but once there is domestic violence, they don't complain. It's like there is an attachment of family bond. I don't understand. I don't really understand, but I was thinking that when she's going to have one of our outreach program, I bet you, even it's at Ngwele or whatever corner in Bonaberi, I'm going to meet her and try to talk to these women about this issue and how they can stay safe or report an incident via this CAASITECH SOS app. So that's what I wanted to say about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Walker. Your intervention is really great. It's really great. And to understand that the same people we are trying to fight for are the same people who don't want to talk about anything. And as I said at some point in my presentation about sociocultural factors, that's the mindset. That's how they were raised. And they will never change except we keep talking, So please let's not relent. Let's take this message out there and let our women start talking about the problems they face. It's only by talking that we can have solutions to them. So we still have about 5 minutes till the end of this webinar, and I still want to encourage people to ask questions if they have, or a few interventions, and we are going to call it off for today. Okay, so without wasting a lot of time, I believe that this sharing session was very enriching. I have a very large paper in front of me. I've taken notes about the things I did not know before now. I just want to thank every one of you from the depth of my heart. CAASITECH is grateful. The women of CAASITECH, all of us are grateful for you all to take out this time. I also saw Mr. Fastinos from the Center for Advocacy in Gender Equality and Action for Development in Bamenda. We understand the network challenges that are there. He has been logging in and out of the meeting, All of these are sacrifices that we make for our women, for our people, in order to ameliorate our society. Thank you, people, so much. We are grateful. CAASITECH is grateful. And see you next time.